Good morning and welcome to 101010 at Poets House, the poetry library in downtown New York City. Poets House is the place for poetry, poets, and all things verse. I'm Dave Johnson, poet and playwright and your host of 101010, where we invite you at 10 a.m. on weekdays for 10 minutes to write a new poem. And in 10 days, you'll have 10 new poems. Good morning and welcome back to 101010 times 2 here at Poets House. This morning, we are going to look at the poet Federico García Lorca. Of course, he was from Granada, Spain, right, the south of Spain. We have many books here on Lorca's work, some that are written prose about Lorca, and also his collected poems, as you'll be able to see here. Poet in Spain, right, and of course, poet in New York. He also lived here in New York for a time as well, and wrote poems here. The poem we're going to look at this morning is called The Moon Rises in English, or in Spanish, La Luna Asoma, right? La Luna Asoma. And we're going to pay special attention today to how he uses repetition to build power, right? You're going to hear a repeat line from one stanza to the next, and then when he breaks that repetition, where this image takes him, right? The moon rises. When the moon comes up, the bells are lost, and there are no roads. When the moon comes up, the sea blankets the earth, and the heart feels like an island. No one eats oranges under the full moon. One must eat cold, green fruit. When the moon comes up, with 100 equal faces, silver money cries in the pocket. Federico García Lorca, The Moon Rises, right? La Luna Asoma, right? Obviously the repeat line here, the translation of when the moon comes up or when the moon rises, right? And each time through, something else happens, right? It's almost as if each night something new arises and builds on what happened the evening before. In this opening stanza, when the moon comes up, the bells are lost and there are no roads, right? I mean, what do you see there, right? When the moon comes up, what do you hear there? The bells are lost. If they're lost, yeah, you probably don't hear them at all, right? The bells, maybe the bells of this small medieval town, right, that we're thinking of possibly, the south of Spain. And there are no roads. Imagine. What kind of moon, what kind of town is this when there are no roads and there are no bells? Everything is silent. The second time through, when the moon comes up, the sea blankets the earth and the heart feels like an island. Now let's think about that one for a second. The sea blankets the earth. When something blankets something, right? When it becomes a blanket, the sea is becoming a blanket here. It's a metaphor, right? It's a metaphor. It's blanketing the earth. It's covering it, right? Just like you would cover the bed, right? Or cover yourself. And the heart feels like an island. If something feels like an island, what do you imagine that means? If it feels like an island is surrounded by water, right? And it's maybe very lonely, right? Then he goes on to say, no one eats oranges, right? It's a departure. No one eats oranges under the full moon. One must eat cold green fruit, right? A bold statement here. No one eats oranges. Why would you not be able to eat oranges under the full moon? I mean, what is he saying? No one eats oranges under the full moon. One must eat cold, green fruit, as if something is waiting to ripen in a way. And then finally he comes back to it in the last stanza, when the moon comes up with 100 equal faces, silver money cries in the pocket. Silver money cries in the pocket. What a stark and compelling image. And the sound too. What is silver money? Yeah, it's probably coins, right? Moving around in the pocket. And he says they're crying. Why do you think the money would cry? Why would the money cry? Maybe it wants to be spent. Maybe it wants to get released. It wants to go somewhere, right? This is very compelling. What I'm going to ask you to do is to take this same form this morning, maybe 4 stanzas. Do try 3 or 4 stanzas, see where it takes you. And I want you to repeat that opening line. And you can start with the word when. W-H-E-N, when. The same way he does. He says when the moon comes up. It could be when anything, right? When the light goes out, right? When the bus pulls up. Whatever you want it to be, right? When the coffee pot rings. When the bell sounds. Whatever you want it to be. But I want you to repeat that line and try to make each time that you repeat it, something new happens. Something new that we see, that we hear, that we smell. Think of the sensory details as you create this poem. Okay? Take about 10 minutes with this. We'll see what you come up with. I'm going to try mine. You try yours. And we'll see what we come up with. Okay, let's see what we can come up with now, right? He has The Moon Rises, Federico García Lorca, The Moon Rises, and he opens when the moon comes up, right? And we said we're going to start with that word when, and we're going to repeat that and see where that takes us. And each time through, we want something new to happen. So in my poem, I'm going to start with when, let's see what we come up with here, when the orange peels. When the orange peels, right? When the orange peels, as if it maybe peels itself, right? When the orange peels, when the orange peels, the scent imagines a window of forgiveness. Right? I have no idea what this means or what it's doing, right? But we'll see. When the orange peels, the scent imagines a window of forgiveness, right? And so we're going to repeat this line, right? So once you get that first line in the next stanza, you're going to just repeat it. So you have that to go from. When the orange peels, right? When the orange peels, the skin aches, right? The skin aches for a mother to call. Wow, I have no idea, right? What that is. When the orange peels, the skin aches for a mother to call, right? Wow. And again, you get a chance if you want. And this one, he makes the departure in in stanza 3. No one eats oranges under the full moon. We could stay with that, or we could go with it again. I'm just going to repeat it one more time in mine. I'm going to go with it again. When the orange peels, enemies reconsider old boundaries. I'm just going to call it the end of my poem. How about that? Let's see what we came up with. When the orange peels, the scent imagines a window of forgiveness. When the orange peels, the skin aches for a mother to call. When the orange peels, enemies reconsider old boundaries, right? Right? So what am I going to title it? I'm going to title this thing at the end. He called his The Moon Rises, right? I'm going to call mine, instead of just orange, right? Maybe I'll just call it Mandarin type of oranges, right? Mandarin lives or lives. How about Mandarin lives, right? Mandarin lives. How about that? All right? So that's mine. Let's see what you come up with. Take the next 10 minutes, come up with your poem. Use that power of repetition. use that image and use that simile to create a new poem. And when you get your new poem, be sure to share it with us at the address on the screen. We have so many wonderful books by Federico García Lorca here at Poet's House. I wanted to share one more poem with you, one of my favorites from this book called Poet in Spain, right? And this is a rather large collection here. And this one in Spanish, Arbolé, Arbolé, of course, is tree, and tree, or its translation is tree, oh tree, tree, right? Tree, oh tree, tree, dry and so green. The young lady with the sweet face is gathering olives. The wind, lover of towers, takes her by the waist. 4 horsemen rode by on Andalusian horses in blue and green suits and long dark capes. Come to Cordoba, young lady. The young lady doesn't listen. 3 toreros come by with narrow waist, wearing orange suits and swords of old silver. Come to Sevilla, young lady. The young lady doesn't listen. When the evening becomes a soft purple glow, a young man comes by with moon myrtle and roses. Come to Granada, young lady. But the young lady doesn't listen. The young lady with the sweet face goes on gathering olives. The gray arm of the wind tight around her waist. Tree, oh tree, tree, dry and so green. Federico García Lorca, Poet in Spain. We'll see you next time right here on 10 10 10 times 2 at Poet's House.